We are back to talk the last two episodes of Little Brother. Any initial thoughts on the last two episodes?
No thoughts on the last two episodes, but something that I want to say to you hoes in the comments trying to write all these dissertations explaining your gameplay. You should have done that in your confessionals, okay? Now is not the time to try and act like you were some strategical genius, okay? You should have given that insight in your confessionals. And I know what some of you are going to say. Oh, the confessionals are timed, you got to get the highlights. Fanguy manages to give the most concise, yet descriptive confessionals ever. Okay, you always know Fanguy's logic and reasoning behind what he does, and some of you should have given better confessionals. And you can't be out here getting mad at viewers who are critiquing your fucking gameplay. You should have played better. Yeah. Enough. And also, no one's reading your long ass comments. Enough.
I do think Fanguy probably gives the best confessionals. He's very good at explaining his reasoning and what he's doing. Others are good too, though, but Fanguy's definitely the best.
And if you notice, a lot of the players that constantly get ate up by us or the viewers are the players that don't give any good insight into their games and their confessionals. That would be people like Leanna, who I feel like, is making really risky moves in the game, but then you don't get as much clarity in her confessionals.
Leanna gives short answers in confessionals.
And same for Deleon. You're just not getting a lot of that insight, and so then it makes it very hard to give you proper credit in this sort of commentary. But using the comments is not the place to explain your gameplay. No one cares.
So anybody who's watching this and is going to play a future game, the confessionals are important if you want your game to be explained well in the editing. Well, let's start with the eviction episode of Aspen. It started with an argument between Alex, Days, Fanguy, Deleon, Leanna, Nav getting annoyed with Deleon. Any thoughts on that whole situation?
Just watching this cast unravel. I mean, they've been unraveled since episode 1, but...
Basically, they do it well. They unravel well.
I was surprised to see Nav getting buck on Deleon, though. I was like, I don't know if that's a tree you want to bark up, but... Apparently Nav's about that life.
Apparently so. A lot of the commentary is about Days' HOH, because Days is explaining his HOH in the comments a lot. Days, you've had about 30 different excuses for your HOH, and I don't know if I agree with any of them, but what did you get out of Days' HOH by the end of it? Because I felt like at the beginning of his HOH, you liked what he was doing. Mm-hmm. How about by the end of it?
I wasn't mad at him trying to, break up the voting blocks and, him having 5 targets. But then, within that, because, it keeps his hands clean. Mm-hmm. Or cleaner than, what would be normal. But then, you actually do have to make nominations that would break up said voting blocks. And you have to make sure that the people that you nominate are gonna go home. And I really think where Days... I think that his nominations... putting Aspen up was not the move. We said this last time. But I also think that he should have just made a pitch for Deleon to go. Something that really annoyed me about this HOH is he was like, oh, I'm not gonna try and influence you guys. No! You need to get him out. You made a stupid choice, so now you need to lean into it and be like, listen, I need Deleon gone. So... I think that Days could have worked harder with Aspen to get the numbers for her to stay.
Yeah, there was a combination of Days, and I said this with Patty a little bit, but Days naming 5 different people, but never naming a real target. It's not making a lot of sense there.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about that episode? Aspen does get voted out in the end.
Yeah, we knew she was gonna go. So
Alex is doing a lot of side switching, he was close to Aspen but voted her out.
Yeah, see, that was wild to me. I think that was really the key vote for Aspen, and that was the key chat that we needed to see happen, which for some reason, Aspen and Alex never had a conversation.
They did, but Alex was at work or something, and it wasn't like a real conversation. It didn't work out, allegedly.
That was actually, I have to say, very confusing to me because, to me, the Aspen-Alex duo was more reliable than this Deleon-Alex duo. And I think the reason why I'm like skeptical of Alex and Deleon being each other's number one is because Deleon is a lone wolf at the end of the day. That is, again, why the Petty Alliance came together for a vote, is because we were all lone wolves. And so I just don't believe Deleon has a number one in this game. And if he does, I don't think it's going to be Alex. So I was very surprised to see Alex vote out Aspen. I think she would have been a better bet. But
a few other things before we move on, I guess, from this episode. Fan Guy wants to be a buster. Any thoughts on Fan Guy?
Somebody please tell Fan Guy what the fuck a buster is, because it's not anything you want to be. A buster is a chump. It's a scrub. That guy that called you a buster in middle school, you should have busted his ass, okay? You do not want to be a buster, and you for damn sure don't want to be Dazed and Busters, okay?
Yeah, that didn't work out very well at all. Also in that episode, Monet and Nav. Nav gets the information out of Monet here.
The only person that moves more random than Aspen is Monet. Monet's just like, yeah, I'm not even gonna hold you. I played a Switchavo, but actually, Nav, I was just wondering, so what's your moon sign?
It was kind of like that, actually.
And Nav was just like, okay. I think Nav was just doing his every blue moon chat with Monet just to keep her off his back. Props to you, Nav. You gotta have that one chat with Monet or you're on her radar.
I think Nav understands that well.
And Nav did for some reason. I mean, yes, you should. Why would Monet lie about this? But Nav believes that Monet has a Switchavo, and I think he's the only one in the game that's like, no, Switchavo was played. And nobody wants to believe him or Monet, so.
True. As we wrap up that first episode, any final thoughts on Dazed HOH or anything overall?
I think we've kind of already, hammered this into the ground, but I think that putting up Aspen was just not the move for Dazed's HOH, especially if he wanted to accomplish said task of breaking up voting blocks. And I was not mad at his original sell of, I want to break up voting blocks, I don't really have any targets, but by the end of it, by the time you have to start making renoms, you need to at least have a person that you would rather see go home over the other, and that person should have been Deleon. So
yeah, I just feel like in the end, and I said this to the comments and with him arguing about this, because Dazed likes to argue. It's one thing about Dazed, I've known Dazed for over a decade now, and one thing about Dazed, he loves to argue. But I just feel like he didn't accomplish anything with his HOH. It's not like he bettered his position at all here. I think an argument could be made that is worse, because the house split, and now Dazed is kind of like the biggest target on that side.
Yeah, I agree. So something that I actually did want to bring up is I think Dazed had mentioned that, Aspen was just too unpredictable. But I think one thing that we did see develop in this episode was Dazed's relationship with Dee. And I just kind of wonder, why is it a problem for Aspen to be unpredictable, but not Dee?
Like in what way?
I would argue Dee is one of the most unpredictable players in the game. You never know how she's going to vote. I was her closest ally in Online Survival 2, and this hoe was out here voting for Elizabeth.
True.
Dee marches to the beat of her own drum, which I love about her, but I think that she is just as much of a wild card as Aspen. So I just kind of want, again, just kind of further hammering the point that Aspen wasn't the move. If you were trying to get people who you felt you could manipulate their vote, making an ally in Dee isn't going to accomplish that either. So
Meg wins the Family Feud HOH, becomes the next HOH. Any thoughts on the Family Feud? Or
do love some good Family Feud, but that one about the movie remakes was hard.
Yeah, that was a tough.
That was hard. I got Cinderella. I would have guessed maybe Frankenstein. I think where people kept fucking up was that they kept listing sequels not remakes.
Yeah.
But I did know that the answer kind of lied in just naming literally every Disney movie ever, because that's all Disney can do now is relive their glory days. So
during the beginning of Meg's HOH, her and Fanguy kind of solidified their final two. They also have this plan to try and pull Days closer to them, a little less close to Nav.
I don't think that that's going to work to pull Days. I don't think they can pull Days closer to them. Really because of Meg. Like, she's already screwed him over once with the Dazed and Busters. I think the best that they're going to get is that little foursome that they have right now with Nav. But I do think that if it comes down to Dazed picking Fanguy and Meg over Nav, he's going to pick Nav.
Well, how do you like that they played this off, though? Because, I mean, they're talking... Fanguy and Meg's talking. Fanguy has this great plan of leaving the HOH and then popping back up after Days is already there to try and make them seem less close. I mean, do you think Meg and Fanguy could play off their close duo enough? Because it seemed to work. I don't think Days really knew that they were already talking beforehand.
I don't think it matters, because I don't think Dazed sees them as a super long-term option. I don't think Days is going to be super long-term in this game, to be honest. But I don't think that matters, because it's like, okay, it's a foursome, and within that, people are going to have twosomes, and they're going to be closer to other people. So I think that, Dazed and Nav are closer, and I think that Meg and Fanguy are closer, and the four of them can come together and be a foursome.
Well, I do think Meg's HOH is going overall well. I do feel like she's being delusional in one regard with her conversation with Alex. Meg thinking she's in the middle here when clearly the other side completely sees her with Dazed and Nav and Fanguy.
I think both of them are delusional. I don't think either of them are in the middle. I think D is in the middle.
Yeah, I think D is definitely most in the middle.
As you said, Meg very much is not in the middle because she is working with Fanguy, Dazed, and Nav, at least for this round. And then Alex is not in the middle because of the what happened at the last HOH nomination, where the whole question of how the votes went and all that. So now he's very much tied to Leanna, and then DeLeon, and because of that now Monet. And so that's the second voting block. And then you just kind of have D, who everyone thinks is... No one knows where D is standing, actually. I don't know. So I think D is actually in the middle.
I mean, I will say, though, every time it comes to a vote, though, whether it's in Online Survival or the few times he's gotten to vote this game, Alex has a way of finding himself as a swing vote position.
That is true. But I don't think he's in the middle right now.
Yeah, I think he's definitely... I think he's like between the alliance with Leanna, but also close to the middle as well. But yeah, I think if we're talking the middle, D is right there. So at the end of Meg's HOH, she tells Monet and DeLeon that they're her targets, and this is the first time Monet learns that Dee Dee is the one that turned on the matriarchy. Any thoughts on that conversation?
I mean, I don't really understand why Monet was so hurt by it. I don't understand what's so surprising about Dee feeling some type of way about the All Women's Alliance when Leanna literally put her up on the block. Like, what did you expect?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think maybe it's just Monet found out so late for whatever reason. She thought it was Aspen this whole time. And also, she is the one that saved Dee's ass.
I'm just flabbergasted at the fact that they actually thought that the Women's Alliance was even an alliance when they voted together one time to save Leanna. That was the only time they were able to vote as an actual block. So, and within that, there's always been distrust between them. Like I think Monet said at one point, like, oh, I'm disappointed that Meg has me up because, even if I wasn't chatting with her about the game, like, I always was loyal to her and the Women's Alliance. And it's like, no, you weren't. You know good and well you didn't fuck with Meg like that. So
true.
I'm confused. It's an alliance when it's convenient for them, but it's not.
Yeah, but I do feel like Monet, out of all of them, maybe was the most loyal overall.
I think Monet was loyal to... is loyal to Leanna.
But I feel like she was trying to be loyal to Dee too, and maybe that's why she feels kind of thrown under the bus too.
Maybe, but you gotta pick one. You either gonna ride with Leanna, who fucked over Dee, or you're gonna ride with Dee. But you can't act as though Dee's response is unreasonable when Leanna made the first attack by putting her up.
Yeah.
My overall impression of this HOH so far is that Meg has two people from the said voting block that Daze was trying to break up. So just as Monet executed Leanna's first HOH, I kind of feel like Meg is just doing what Dazed couldn't. So
True. But I do think it benefits Meg's game. I don't feel like she has any close relationship with Deleon and Monet on a game level.
that is true.
Let's get to your ups and downs and start with Meg.
I think that the ups and downs this week are going to follow a very clear theme of the voting blocks, with Meg being in the middle as the HOH. And so accordingly, Meg is neutral.
How about Deleon?
Deleon, I'm going down.
Because he's on the block.
Yep, he's on the block. He did almost pull through for, what was it, Pictionary or Charades? He almost pulled through for Pictionary, so I'm not going to say Deleon can't win a challenge, because who knows? These challenges, again, no such thing as a comp beast, in my opinion. So he could win, but
Do you think he's the main target?
he needs to be. Meg won't say
next to
it,
Monet.
but... 1, 2, 3. Deleon has the votes to go home. If he is the target next to Monet.
How about Monet?
Monet is down.
Because she's on the block.
Yeah, she's on the block. And if she doesn't win the power veto, or Deleon does, then she's going to stay on the block. So
How about Leanna?
Leanna's down because two of her closest allies are on the block. I think she was really expecting Alex to get put up, and she was going to somehow try and finesse the numbers to save him. But now that two of her allies are up there, I don't know what she's going to do. I think either way, Leanna loses someone from her voting block. So she's down.
Dee.
Dee I have down because there's a very real possibility that if she doesn't play in the veto, Dee gets backdoored.
Yes. If she does, do you think she might still be porch-doored?
Dee could very well be porch-doored. I actually I don't disagree with Deleon's guess that he may be up, but Dee goes home. I don't think he's wrong on that, but we'll see.
How about Dazed?
Dazed is up.
Why?
This round. He's up because he is, not the target for this round. I think even with renoms, I think Meg... It would be really saucy if Meg put him up as a renom and was like, hey, I told you I wasn't going to put you up as the initial nom. So it could be saucy if Meg did that to him, but I don't think she has the balls to do it. So Dazed is safe this round. And if we look at who's going home... Potentially, like I said, I think it'll be someone from Leanna's voting block, and seeing as that block is going after Dazed, it only helps him to get rid of one of those players, which is why he should have broken up that block during his HOH. But anyways. Fanguy's up. He's in a great spot.
Do you like his pufferfish strategy?
I don't understand the analogy.
Well, that he's like this little... He wants to make himself look innocent and like the smaller target compared to all these actual bigger targets. He wants them to take himself up, even though he sees himself as a big target.
I could understand maybe like stingray. What are those fishes that hide? Those fish that hide in the sand.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He's maybe one of those, but I feel like a pufferfish isn't the whole thing with a pufferfish that. Anytime something comes close to it, it puffs up. Like, nobody wants to be close to you, Fanguy. You should just be happy to have people that are requesting you in chats. You're not a pufferfish.
Yeah, he's kind of a floater, honestly, right now, Fanguy. Just kind of floats to whoever is talking to him. How about Nav?
Nav is up! I am putting my bets on Nav winning this game. If he goes home this round, cut that out.
How about Alex?
Alex, I have up. Meg seems to want to lean back into this, duo she has going with Alex that she will deny or claim when it's convenient for her to do so. But for right now, it seems like she wants to claim Alex as an ally, and for that reason, he would be up because he's not the target. But then I also guess that, Deleon and Leanna being huge targets wouldn't be great for his game, but I don't know. I still have him mostly up this round.
Yeah, why do you think he's still not a target, Alex?
Because there are bigger targets in the game, which is ironic because that was his whole pitch, is that he would be the shield. So.
Alright, well, until next time.